Darkness cloaked New York City in the summer of 1976. The streets, already drowning in crime, corruption, and fear, were about to face a new nightmare, a predator who prowled the night, stalking young lovers and turning the city that never sleeps into a chilling hunting ground. He called himself Son of Sam. With a .44 caliber revolver in hand, David Berkowitz unleashed a wave of terror so profound that no one felt safe.
Welcome to Dark Radio.
New York City in the 1970s was a powder keg ready to explode. Crime ran rampant, neighborhoods were ruled by gangs, and the city was teetering on the edge of financial collapse. Against this backdrop of chaos, an ordinary man, a postal worker, was about to become one of the most feared serial killers in American history. His name, David Berkowitz.
The world would come to know him as the Son of Sam.
David was born Richard David Falco in 1953, only to be given up for adoption. Nathan and Pearl Berkowitz, a working-class Jewish couple, raised him as their own. But even as a child, David felt the sting of rejection. He grew up restless, angry, and obsessed with destruction. Teachers noticed his strange behavior. Neighbors remembered his fixation with setting fires. The death of his adoptive mother when he was just a teenager shattered him further, feeding his loneliness and rage. By his early 20s, David had developed bizarre delusions. He claimed that demons spoke to him, that a dog, a black Labrador belonging to his neighbor Sam Carr, was possessed, transmitting Satan's commands. It was under this twisted belief system that David adopted a new identity, Son of Sam. The killing spree began on July 29, 1976. Donna Loria, 18, and her friend Jody Valenti were sitting in a car outside Donna's Bronx home. Without warning, a man approached, pulled out a revolver, and fired. Donna was killed instantly. Jody survived with injuries. Witnesses could only describe a stocky man with dark hair fleeing into the night.
In a city already numbed by violence, the attack barely made headlines.
But the silence would not last. Over the next year, Berkowitz struck again and again. His targets were almost always young women, often with their boyfriends, sitting in parked cars or walking home late at night. He approached without a word, raised his .44 revolver, and opened fire. 6 would die. 7 more would be grievously wounded. The press dubbed him the .44 caliber killer. Panic swept through New York. Women with long, dark hair, his apparent preference, rushed to cut her dye it blonde. Couples stopped going out at night. Streets that once buzzed with life felt eerily silent after sundown. A city that never slept was now held hostage by fear. And then came the letters. Bizarre, taunting notes left for police and media, filled with ramblings about demons, bloodlust, and his new identity. He signed him Son of Sam, and with that, a legend of terror was born. One letter read chillingly, "I am a monster. I am the Son of Sam. I love to hunt. To kill is pure pleasure. I think it is what you must call murder." The city spiraled into hysteria. Every shadow held danger. Every stranger could be the killer. Police launched one of the largest manhunts in New York's history, but the predator seemed always a step ahead. And all the while, David Berkowitz continued his double life, a quiet postal worker by day, a bloodthirsty killer by night. To his neighbors, he was just another man walking his dog. To the city, he was an invisible phantom with a gun. The Son of Sam was only beginning his reign of terror, and New York had yet to see the full scale of his darkness. As 1977 dawned, New York City braced itself for more blood. Winter turned to spring, and with it, the killings escalated. The Son of Sam had found his rhythm. Each attack struck deeper into the psyche of the city, each bullet a message. He was everywhere, and he could not be stopped. On March 8, 1977, college student Virginia Voskorikian was walking home from class in Queens. She carried her books close, unaware that death was following just steps behind. A man approached, raised the same .44 caliber revolver, and pulled the trigger. She collapsed onto the sidewalk, her books scattering around her lifeless body. Witnesses screamed, but the killer vanished into the night once more. The city reeled. But Berkowitz wasn't finished. Just a month later, on April 17, he struck again, this time at lovers parked in their car. Valentina Siriani, 18, and Alexander Esau, 20, were gunned down in the Bronx. Valentina died instantly. Alexander succumbed to his wounds soon after. But it wasn't just the brutality of the crime that chilled the city. It was what came next. At the crime scene, investigators found the first of Berkowitz's infamous letters. Written in a bizarre, mocking tone, it taunted the police and revealed the name that would haunt headlines for decades: "I am the son of Sam."
The letter dripped with sadistic pride.
"I am a monster. I am the son of Sam. I love to hunt. Prowling the streets looking for fair game, tasty meat. The women of Queens are the prettiest of all. Must be the water they drink. I am the son of Sam, and I will not stop." The media exploded. Headlines screamed of the son of Sam, feeding the fear that already suffocated the city. His words were plastered across newspapers, read aloud on television, dissected on radio. New Yorkers locked their doors, cut their hair, and stayed home at night. The killer had become a specter woven into everyday life. By summer, the hysteria reached its peak. On July 31st, 1977, Berkowitz carried out his final attack. Stacy Moskowitz and her boyfriend, Robert Violante, were sitting in their car in Brooklyn when shots shattered the night. Stacy was killed. Robert was permanently blinded. This attack, unlike the others, produced something crucial. A witness saw a man loitering near the crime scene, and more importantly, a suspiciously parked yellow car. Detectives tracked the car to a quiet Bronx street. It belonged to none other than David Berkowitz. When police moved in, they found his .44 revolver, maps of crime scenes, and another letter intended for authorities. The hunt for Son of Sam was over. On August 10, 1977, David Berkowitz was arrested. He confessed immediately, smiling as if relieved the game was finally up. "You got me," he told officers. "I'm Sam." But his explanations were even more disturbing. He claimed that his neighbor's dog, Harvey, was possessed by a demon and that it was the dog who commanded him to kill. The city struggled to comprehend, was this man insane? Or was this the ultimate mask of evil, hiding behind madness to excuse cold-blooded murder? When his trial began, psychiatrists debated whether he was mentally ill or perfectly sane. Berkowitz himself seemed to enjoy the attention, smirking, cryptic, sometimes rambling about demons, other times eerily calm. In the end, the jury decided he was competent. He was sentenced to 6 life terms, a punishment meant to ensure he would never see freedom again. But prison walls did not silence the son of Sam. Behind bars, he became a symbol, twisted, infamous, and strangely enduring. He received thousands of letters from curious strangers, admirers, and true crime fanatics. His name remained carved into American culture. And the nightmare did not end there. Out of the shadows, a new controversy emerged: the Son of Sam law. Legislators, fearing Berkowitz could profit from selling his story, created laws preventing criminals from cashing in on their notoriety. Once again, his name made headlines, not for his crimes this time, but for the legacy of fear and exploitation he left behind. David Berkowitz, the son of Sam, sat in prison, but his shadow stretched across decades. A city had been terrorized by one man with a gun, but the story was not only about bullets, it was about fear, the power of media, and how evil can make itself immortal. And even from the silence of his cell, Berkowitz's presence lingered in the nightmares of a city that would never forget. Even after the echo of gunfire had faded and David Berkowitz sat behind iron bars, the Son of Sam case refused to rest. For many New Yorkers, his arrest brought relief, but not closure. Questions lingered, whispers spread, and soon a new layer of darkness emerged, one that suggested the terror may not have ended with Berkowitz's capture. Inside prison, Berkowitz confessed fully, almost gleefully, to the murders. He told detectives he had obeyed the commands of a demon speaking through his neighbor's black Labrador. To the public, this explanation bordered on absurdity, yet it was unsettling. Was Berkowitz truly insane, or was he mocking a city he had already broken? Psychologists split down the middle. Some argued he was schizophrenic, others claimed he was manipulative but sane. But then, in the 1980s, Berkowitz changed his story. He hinted that he had not acted alone, that there was a network, a cult, tied to satanic rituals, and that he was just one of many participants in the killings. He spoke cryptically of the Process Church of the Final Judgment, a group some believed be linked to occult practices. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. Was the son of Sam truly a lone gunman, or merely a soldier in something larger, something darker? Investigators who revisited the case noticed odd inconsistencies. Eyewitnesses often described different-looking shooters at different scenes, sometimes taller, sometimes thinner, sometimes not resembling Berkowitz at all. Police sketches varied wildly. Could this have been coincidence, or evidence of multiple killers? Journalist Maury Terry became obsessed with the theory. In his book, The Ultimate Evil, Terry argued that Berkowitz's crimes were part of a nationwide satanic cult network. His claims were sensational, drawing both believers and skeptics. To this day, no definitive proof has ever emerged, but the unanswered questions kept the conspiracy alive. Meanwhile, Berkowitz himself shifted identities once again. In the late 1980s, he declared himself a born-again Christian. He claimed God had forgiven him and began signing letters as the Son of Hope instead of the Son of Sam. Behind bars, he preached to fellow inmates, wrote about redemption, and denied interest in media interviews. To some, it was a cynical ploy to rewrite his legacy. To others, it was proof of a man grasping for salvation after a lifetime consumed by evil. The Son of Sam laws passed in New York after his conviction ensured that Berkowitz could never profit from his crimes. He could not sell his story for books or movies, though filmmakers and authors certainly made millions portraying his tale. He remained paradoxically both silenced and ever-present in American culture. His story appeared in films, television series, documentaries, each adding another layer to the myth of the Son of Sam. Even decades later, his name retains its power. Say Son of Sam in New York, and people remember shuttered windows, empty streets, and the feeling that anyone could be the next victim. Berkowitz didn't just kill people, he held a city hostage with fear. Today, David Berkowitz sits in a maximum security prison in New York, an old man marked by illness and time. But the questions linger. As chilling as the hot nights of 1977, did he truly act alone? Was his madness genuine, or was it a mask? And why, after all these years, does the name Son of Sam still send a shiver down the spine of America? Because some killers fade into obscurity, but others, like Berkowitz, carved themselves into history, not just for what they did, but for the shadows they left behind. The story of David Berkowitz, the Son of Sam, is not only written in blood, but in the very fabric of American culture. His crimes were not just killings, they were a mirror reflecting fear, media obsession, and the uneasy relationship between society and its monsters. The summer of 1977 became more than just a season of heat. It became a cultural scar. The fear he generated was unlike anything New York had seen before. People weren't simply afraid of being mugged or caught in gang violence. They were afraid of the unseen predator, the faceless man who could strike at random. The Son of Sam case transformed the psychology of the city. After him, New Yorkers locked their doors earlier, changed their habits, looked over their shoulders. A generation learned what it felt like to live in terror. But Berkowitz's influence extended beyond fear. He changed the way crime was covered by the media. The tabloids seized on the sensational nature of his killings, splashing his words and threats across front pages. His letters became as infamous as his gun. In many ways, the media gave him the platform he craved, amplifying his myth until he became larger than life. This was not merely a murderer, he was a media event. And America, for better or worse, could not look away. The Son of Sam case also reshaped the law. New York's government passed the Son of Sam laws, preventing criminals from profiting off their notoriety through book deals, movies, or other media projects. While these laws have since faced legal challenges, their existence shows the impact one man's evil had on the entire legal system. Berkowitz may have been caged, but his shadow changed the rules of justice. In popular culture, his presence never disappeared. The Son of Sam was dramatized in films, referenced in music, dissected in documentaries, and studied in classrooms. Spike Lee's Summer of Sam, 1999, captured the paranoia that gripped New York during his spree. True crime shows still revisit his story, finding new audiences in every generation. For many, the Son of Sam became the archetype of the modern serial killer, the ordinary man who concealed extraordinary darkness. But perhaps the most haunting cultural echo lies in the unanswered questions. The theories of cult involvement, of accomplices, of rituals keep his legend alive. Conspiracy theorists point to the inconsistencies in witness descriptions, the strange coincidences, the cryptic statements Berkowitz still drops from time to time. The idea that the full truth may never be known ensures that his story endures not just as history, but as a living, breathing mystery. Meanwhile, Berkowitz reinvented himself in prison, embracing the role of a repentant man. As the son of hope, he preaches to other inmates, speaks of redemption, and claims to have left his past behind. But no matter how many times he speaks of God's forgiveness, the world cannot forget the nights when he was the son of Sam, when he was deaf walking the streets of New York. The cultural fascination with Berkowitz reveals something uncomfortable about society itself. We are drawn to monsters, compelled by their darkness. His story is not just about him, it's about us and why we stare into the abyss knowing it stares back. The son of Sam's greatest legacy may not be his crimes, but the reminder that evil can be ordinary, that the boy next door can carry a demon inside. Decades later, his name still evokes dread. Son of Sam, the monster who silenced a city, the killer who forced America to confront its obsession with death, fear, and infamy. And in the silence of prison walls, Berkowitz remains both a man and a myth, one who ensures that New York's summer of fear will never truly fade. Decades have passed since David Berkowitz stalked the streets with his .44 revolver, but the shadow of the son of Sam has never disappeared. His legacy is more than a string of murders. It is a study of fear, of fractured minds, and of the ways society struggles to understand the monsters it creates. Psychologists have long debated who Berkowitz really was. Was he a psychotic killer driven by hallucinations of demons and talking dogs? Or was he a manipulator fully aware of his actions, hiding behind madness as a convenient excuse? The truth is complex. His childhood, marked by abandonment, bullying, and a troubled relationship with his adoptive parents, set a stage of deep emotional instability. His fascination with fire setting, his isolation, and his eventual delusions of demonic control all fit the profile of a man on the edge of violence. But his methodical stalking, his ability to evade capture for over a year, and his carefully written letters to the police suggest a chilling rationality. This contradiction, the line between madness and calculation, is part of what makes Berkowitz so haunting. He embodied both chaos and control, both insanity and cold intent. For criminologists, he became a case study in how serial killers can mask themselves in the everyday, wearing the disguise of normalcy while harboring lethal compulsions. Yet the most profound psychological scar left by the son of Sam wasn't in him. It was in New York itself. The fear he generated was almost as destructive as the bullets he fired. An entire city altered its behavior because of one man. People cut their hair, stopped dating, stopped going out at night. The paranoia spread like a contagion, proving that terror doesn't just live in dark alleys. It thrives in the human mind. Berkowitz weaponized fear, and in doing so, showed the world how psychological warfare could be waged with nothing more than a gun and a name. The legacy also forces society to confront its uneasy fascination with killers. The son of Sam became more than a criminal. He became a brand, an archetype, an enduring part of pop culture. His story revealed how media can turn murder into myth, how headlines can amplify horror, and how notoriety can immortalize evil. In many ways, Berkowitz understood this. His letters weren't just taunts, they were performances crafted for an audience. He wanted to be remembered, and he succeeded. There is also a darker moral lesson. Berkowitz showed how a single individual, seemingly ordinary, can unravel the illusion of safety in an entire metropolis. His life raises questions about neglect, mental illness, and society's responsibility to intervene before broken children become broken adults with guns. At his early warning signs, the obsession with fire, the violence toward animals, the isolation been taken seriously, could history have been different? Or was Berkowitz always destined to become the son of Sam? Inside prison, his transformation into the son of hope offers another unsettling reflection. Can someone who embodied such terror truly find redemption? Should society allow space for forgiveness, or must some crimes forever define a man? Berkowitz's story does not offer easy answers. It forces us to confront our own morality, our own beliefs about justice, punishment, and the possibility of change. And so the name lives on. Not because of the man himself, who now spends his days in a prison cell, old and frail, but because of what he represents: the fragility of safety, the hunger of the media, the allure of infamy, and the eternal mystery of the human mind when it turns toward darkness. The Son of Sam is gone, but the lessons remain. That evil does not always wear a mask, and sometimes it walks the streets in daylight, delivering mail, greeting neighbors, hiding in plain sight. And that fear, once unleashed, can echo for generations. The story of David Berkowitz was never just about murder. It was about how one man's darkness infected a city, and how that darkness still lingers in the American imagination. The closing chapter of David Berkowitz's story is not written in gunfire or newspaper headlines, but in silence, the kind that lingers long after the screams fade. The Son of Sam is no longer the young man who terrorized the city with a .44 revolver. He is now an aging inmate, locked away from the world he once held hostage. Yet his shadow still stretches across history, a reminder of how easily one man's madness can rewrite the rhythm of an entire city. In prison, Berkowitz reinvented himself as a devout Christian, renouncing the identity of the Son of Sam and embracing the moniker Son of Hope. He writes letters of remorse, preaches to fellow inmates, and claims that God has forgiven him. To some, this transformation seems genuine. To others, it feels like another mask, the same way he once wore the mask of an ordinary neighbor while secretly hunting women in the night. Whether his repentance is truth or performance, the world will never fully know. What is certain is that his crimes will never be erased, nor will the pain of the families whose lives he shattered. The survivors of his attacks still carry scars, physical, emotional, and generational. The families of those who died never truly found closure. The memory of July nights filled with panic still haunts New York. The echoes of the Son of Sam can still be felt in the way people look over their shoulders, the way neighborhoods remember, the way a city never fully forgets.
His violence didn't just take lives, it stole innocence from an entire generation.
But the legacy of Berkowitz is also a mirror. It reflects the flaws in how society responds to mental illness, how the media feeds on fear, and how fascination with evil can sometimes overshadow compassion for victims. He became a monster, partly because the world allowed him to slip into isolation, partly because the spotlight of the press turned him into an icon of dread, and partly because evil, when ignored, festers in silence. For Dark Radio listeners, his story is not just a chronicle of murder. It is a warning. Evil rarely appears as a shadowy figure lurking in an alley. It is often hidden in the most ordinary faces: a postal worker, a quiet neighbor, a man who smiles at you in passing. The Son of Sam was proof that the truest danger is not what we expect, but what we overlook. And as his life winds down into concrete confines of prison, Berkowitz remains a paradox, a killer who calls himself hopeful, a man who destroyed lives while preaching redemption, a monster who insists he has been tamed. Whether we believe him or not is irrelevant. His crimes have already ensured his place in infamy. His name will forever summon images of fear, paranoia, and death. If the shadows of this story unsettled you, you're not alone. Evil often hides behind the most ordinary faces. Subscribe to Dark Radio for more real-life darkness brought into the light. And remember, justice may sleep, but it never dies.